What if the quietest change in your morning could wake up the part of you that thought it had retired? Your energy, your confidence, and yes, your firmness. Not a miracle pill, not a clinic visit, just a small, strategic twist to a breakfast you already know by heart. I've spent years listening to men, fathers, grandfathers, husbands describe that hollow feeling when the body stops cooperating. It's not only about the bedroom. It's about identity, momentum, and the spark that makes you feel fully alive. And while age brings wisdom, it can also bring slowed blood flow, stubborn belly weight, and hormones that don't answer the call as quickly as they used to. Here's the hopeful part. Your body hasn't forgotten how to respond. It's simply waiting for the right signals. So instead of chasing quick fixes, we're going to rewire the morning, one bite, one breath, one simple ritual at a time. Think of breakfast not as a habit, but as a lever, the place where flavor meets physiology and where consistency beats complexity. In the next moments, I'll show you how to turn a familiar plate into a quietly powerful routine. Nothing extreme, nothing expensive. We'll use everyday ingredients as gentle nudges for circulation, steadier blood sugar, and hormone balance. More importantly, we'll build a rhythm you can actually keep. Small steps that stack into real results. If you've ever wondered, is it too late for me? Let this be your answer. We're going to start where every good day begins, the first meal, and rebuild reliability from the inside out. Take a seat, take a breath, and let's make breakfast the moment your comeback begins. First, we'll uncover why a reliable morning matters more than any overnight promise. Then, we'll layer in one simple upgrade at a time so you can feel the difference without forcing it. Finally, I'll give you a week-by-week plan that feels natural, tastes good, and quietly brings your confidence back home.
Why erections fade with age and why it's not the end of the story. Here's a truth many men don't like to admit out loud. Erections don't vanish overnight. They fade, little by little, until one day you realize what used to be automatic now feels uncertain. For some, it shows up as weaker morning erections. For others, it's a hesitation during intimacy, like the body is stalling when the mind is ready. Doctors often point to testosterone decline, stiffening blood vessels, or nerves that don't fire as sharply as they once did. And yes, those things are real. But here's what rarely gets said. Your body never fully forgets how to respond. Even at 70 or 80, those systems can wake up again if they're given the right signals. Think of it like an old classic car sitting in a garage. The engine might not roar like it did the first day you bought it, but with the right tune-up, fresh oil, good fuel, and a little patience, it can still run beautifully. Age may add some mileage, but it doesn't mean the journey is over. Over the years, I've noticed that many older men accept these changes too quickly. They think, well, I guess this is just what happens after 60. But when I sit with them, I see more than just frustration. I see sadness, sometimes even shame, because this isn't about performance alone, it's about identity, connection, and dignity. I remember one man, let's call him George, who confessed that his biggest fear wasn't losing intimacy with his wife, it was losing the simple ability to reach for her hand without worrying she'd expect more than he could give. That broke my heart, because in reality, George wasn't broken. His body simply needed better fuel and more reliable routines. That's where the morning ritual comes in. It isn't about chasing magic cures or swallowing a cabinet full of pills. It's about giving your body simple, repeatable signals that say, keep producing, keep flowing, keep living. And believe it or not, the first building block of that ritual is sitting right in most of our kitchens, the humble egg. But eggs alone aren't the full story. They're just the starting line. The real transformation begins when we carefully pair them with a few natural allies that can nudge the body systems back online gently, consistently, and in ways that taste good enough to keep you coming back each morning.
Why eggs make a strong foundation. For decades, eggs were treated like the villain of breakfast. Doctors, magazines, and diet trends all warned us that cholesterol from eggs was dangerous. Many older men I've spoken with still carry that belief. Some haven't touched a whole egg in 20 years because they're afraid of harming their heart. But here's the irony. The very cholesterol found in eggs is also one of the raw materials your body needs to build testosterone, the hormone most tied to energy, drive, and masculinity. Without enough of those building blocks, your body's like a factory missing its key supplies. Now, I'm not saying eggs are a cure-all. Let's be realistic. They're not magic, but they are a convenient and nutrient-dense base to build from. Think of them as the canvas on which we can paint a much more powerful picture. Inside the yolk, you'll find vitamin D, healthy fats, and minerals like zinc and selenium. Combined, these nutrients help preserve muscle, support hormone production, and keep your metabolism from slowing down too quickly. In my own observation, men who bring eggs back into their breakfast after avoiding them for years often feel more satisfied, less hungry mid-morning, and surprisingly steadier in their energy. Why? Because protein and fat digest slowly. That keeps blood sugar stable, which matters a lot for circulation and hormone health. One of my clients, a retired teacher in his late 60s, used to start every morning with just toast and coffee. By 10 a.m., he was already yawning, reaching for another cup. When he swapped the toast for a 3-egg scramble with spinach, he told me, "I didn't even think about food until lunchtime, and I didn't crash halfway through my crossword puzzle." That's the kind of baseline change we're after. Not a miracle, just a stronger foundation. Of course, a foundation alone isn't enough. A house needs walls, a roof, and windows if you want to live in it. In the same way, eggs need a few strategic partners to really unlock their potential. When we add the right natural allies, foods and spices that are easy to find and affordable, we can amplify what eggs already offer and turn a simple breakfast into a tool for vitality. And the first partner on that list might surprise you. It's not exotic, not expensive, and probably sitting in your kitchen right now. Most people love it for its flavor, but very few realize the hidden power it carries for circulation, stress, and yes, performance. That ingredient? Garlic. Garlic, the small clove with a big impact. When I first mentioned garlic in this context, most people laugh. They imagine the sharp bite on the tongue, the lingering smell, and they immediately think, that can't possibly help my energy or intimacy. But garlic has always been more than just flavor. It creates compounds like allicin that help blood vessels relax and encourage smoother blood flow. And since erections rely heavily on circulation, anything that supports the vascular system can indirectly support performance. In my experience, it's often the simplest changes that create the biggest ripple. I've seen men in their 70s add 1 small clove of garlic to their morning eggs, and within weeks notice subtle shifts: warmer hands and feet, steadier morning energy, and yes, stronger morning firmness. Not a miracle, but a sign that the body is responding to consistent, supportive signals. One gentleman told me that his wife teased him about smelling like an Italian kitchen, but when their evenings grew warmer again, neither of them minded. That's the trade-off. A little garlic breath for a lot of vitality. The key is preparation. Crush or finely chop the garlic and let it rest about 10 minutes before you fold it into your eggs. That pause is what activates the compounds. If the taste is too sharp, add it right at the end of cooking so the residual heat softens the bite. Pair it with olive oil, parsley, or even a squeeze of lemon, and suddenly the flavor is not only tolerable, but pleasant. If you're worried about smell, the solution is easier than you think. Eat your garlic at breakfast. By evening, the odor is faint. Sip green tea, chew parsley, or simply drink more water, and you'll feel fresh enough to hold your grandchildren or lean in close to your partner without hesitation. Garlic may be the most surprising partner to eggs, but it's only the first step. Think of it as opening a locked door. Garlic helps your body actually use the nutrients in your breakfast more efficiently. But once the door is open, what do we bring inside? That's where another small but mighty ally comes in. It's not a spice, not an herb, but a nut. And not just any nut, the Brazil nut, a food so rich in one specific mineral that eating just 2 a day can influence testosterone production. Brazil nuts, tiny powerhouses for testosterone. Now, let's talk about a food that hardly ever gets the spotlight: Brazil nuts. They don't look like much, just 2 little wedges sitting in a bag of mixed nuts, but inside them lies one of the most concentrated natural sources of selenium you can find. Selenium is a trace mineral. You don't need much of it, but your body relies on it for hormone production, sperm health, and overall vitality. Think of it like a spark plug in an engine. It's tiny, almost invisible, but without it, the engine sputters. And in the male body, when selenium is running low, testosterone production can stall. Here's the important part. More is not better. Brazil nuts are powerful, which is why just 1 or 2 a day is plenty. In fact, I once met a man who thought, if 2 nuts are good, why not 10? Within weeks, he started feeling off. Nausea, irritability, even brittle nails. Too much selenium can backfire. That's why moderation here isn't just advice, it's essential. On the flip side, when eaten in the right amount, Brazil nuts can make a noticeable difference. One of my clients, a 72-year-old retired mechanic, told me he felt switched back on after just a few weeks of adding 2 Brazil nuts to his scrambled eggs every morning. His wife joked that he had more energy than their grandkids. Whether it was improved testosterone, steadier energy, or simply the ritual of nourishing himself properly, the change was undeniable. The easiest way to use Brazil nuts is to chop them into small pieces and sprinkle them over eggs once they're cooked. Toasting them lightly in a dry pan first brings out a warm, nutty flavor that pairs beautifully with a golden turmeric scramble. That way, it doesn't feel like you're taking medicine, it feels like breakfast. If you already take a multivitamin that contains selenium, start with just 1 nut every other day and pay attention to how your body feels. Remember, this isn't a sprint, it's a long drive, and you don't want to flood the engine. So far, we've opened the door with garlic and added fuel with Brazil nuts. You can already see how small, natural changes can shift the body's rhythm. But there's more. The next ingredient doesn't come from your spice rack or your nut jar. It comes in the form of a dark, earthy oil that has been called, in old Middle Eastern sayings, the cure for everything except death. And while that sounds dramatic, modern research suggests there might be more truth to it than you'd expect. That oil is black seed oil. Black seed oil, ancient remedy, modern ally. There's an old Middle Eastern saying that black seed oil is the cure for everything except death. At first glance, it sounds like folklore. But when you dig deeper, you realize why generations valued it so highly. This dark, earthy oil, pressed from the tiny seeds of Nigella sativa, carries compounds that support both hormone balance and metabolic health. One standout compound, thymoquinone, has been studied for its ability to calm inflammation and support the body's natural hormone production. That matters because silent, chronic inflammation is one of the biggest hidden barriers to testosterone function in older men. Think of it like rust inside the engine. You don't always see it, but it slows everything down. Black seed oil acts like a gentle anti-rust treatment, helping the machinery run smoother again. When men first hear about black seed oil, they imagine something exotic or hard to find. In truth, it's becoming more available, especially in health food shops or online. The bigger challenge isn't finding it, it's developing a taste for it. The flavor is earthy, slightly bitter, and can be intense if you're not prepared. One man I worked with, a 67-year-old who swore he didn't believe in natural remedies, agreed to try 1 teaspoon of cold-pressed black seed oil over his eggs each morning for a month. At first, he made a face every time he swallowed. But by week 3, he admitted he was feeling lighter on my feet, less bloated, and oddly, more upbeat. His blood work later showed modest improvements in testosterone and better glucose control. Whether it was the oil alone or the ripple effect of a new routine, the change gave him back momentum, and with it, hope. The trick with black seed oil is in how you use it. Don't cook with it. High heat ruins its compounds. Instead, drizzle it over cooked eggs, mix it with olive oil and lemon, or stir a few drops into a small side of hummus or yogurt. Start small, half a teaspoon, and work up if you like it. If you find the taste challenging, try blending it with olive oil for a milder flavor, or use it every other day until your palate adjusts. What matters most isn't taking a huge amount, but building a habit that sticks. So far, we've layered garlic for circulation, Brazil nuts for hormone spark, and black seed oil for inflammation control. Each ingredient builds on the other, like instruments joining in a song. Subtle at first, but powerful when combined. But our symphony isn't finished. To really give breakfast its golden edge, we turn to a spice that's been praised for centuries: turmeric. And when paired with a simple pinch of black pepper, it becomes far more than just color in your pan. It becomes a potent ally for hormone balance and vitality.
Turmeric and black pepper, the golden duo. If garlic is the bold opener and Brazil nuts are the spark, then turmeric is the golden thread that ties the morning ritual together. Known for centuries as both a spice and a healer, turmeric brings more than color to your plate. Its active compound, curcumin, has been widely studied for its ability to calm inflammation and support hormone balance. But here's the catch: curcumin alone is poorly absorbed by the body. That's where black pepper steps in. A compound in pepper called piperine can boost curcumin absorption by thousands of %. In other words, turmeric sings softly on its own, but with pepper, it becomes a full chorus. The first time I added turmeric to scrambled eggs, I expected it to taste strange, almost medicinal. Instead, I found it gave the eggs a warm, earthy flavor and a beautiful golden hue that made the dish feel special. And that matters. When food looks appealing, we're more likely to make it a daily ritual instead of a chore. One older client of mine who was struggling with low mood and achy joints started adding turmeric and pepper to his breakfast. Within a month, he said, "I don't know if it's the eggs or the spice, but my mornings feel lighter and my knees complain less when I walk up the stairs." Whether it was placebo or physiology, it gave him motivation to keep the habit alive. And consistency is what really drives results. Start small. A quarter teaspoon of turmeric is enough for 3 eggs. Add a generous grind of fresh black pepper as the eggs cook. Bloom the spice. Heat turmeric gently in the pan with a little oil before adding the eggs. This deepens the flavor and helps the compounds activate. Pair with fat. Because curcumin is fat-soluble, the natural yolk fats or a drizzle of olive oil help carry it into your system more effectively. The result? A golden, fragrant scramble that feels both comforting and energizing. An easy upgrade you'll look forward to. By now, our breakfast plate is turning into something extraordinary. Garlic to open the pathways, Brazil nuts to fuel testosterone, and turmeric with pepper to calm inflammation and keep hormones balanced. But we're not done yet. Sometimes, to restore vitality, you also need sweetness, something that delights the senses while protecting the body. That's where raw honey and Ceylon cinnamon come into the picture, a pairing that not only elevates flavor, but also adds its own quiet power to the ritual.
Raw honey and Ceylon cinnamon, sweetness with purpose. Up to now, our breakfast has been savory garlic's bite, turmeric's earthiness, the nuttiness of Brazil nuts. But sometimes, the body and spirit both crave a touch of sweetness. That's where raw honey and true Ceylon cinnamon step in. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about dumping sugar into your morning. It's about using natural sweetness strategically to not only delight the palate, but also help protect testosterone and support blood flow. Raw honey carries plant compounds like boron that can play a role in keeping testosterone from slipping into estrogen. Meanwhile, Ceylon cinnamon, lighter and softer in flavor than the common supermarket variety, has been linked to better insulin sensitivity. That's critical because steady blood sugar means steadier energy, and that steady energy carries into circulation, mood, and performance. I once met an older couple in their late 70s who tried this combination. The husband admitted he felt drained and less interested in intimacy. His wife, sitting beside him, squeezed his hand and said softly, "I just want him back." I suggested they try adding a drizzle of raw honey and a sprinkle of cinnamon over his morning eggs. Something simple, something joyful. When they returned a month later, the sparkle in her eyes said more than any lab test ever could. "He feels like himself again," she whispered, and he nodded, grinning like a man 20 years younger. Of course, honey isn't a magic potion, but what it can do is shift the experience of breakfast from routine to ritual. And when food feels like an act of care, both for yourself and for the person you share life with, it becomes a habit you want to keep. Practical tips. Choose Ceylon cinnamon if possible. It's milder, more delicate, and safer for daily use than cassia cinnamon, which can be harsh in large amounts. Limit honey to about 1 teaspoon. More than that, and you risk a sugar crash later in the day. How to use it? Mix the cinnamon with the honey, then drizzle lightly over the eggs after cooking, or pair it with a spoonful of Greek yogurt on the side. This keeps flavors bright and prevents the honey from burning in the pan. By now, your breakfast plate has transformed. Garlic for circulation, Brazil nuts for hormone spark, black seed oil to tame inflammation, turmeric and pepper for balance, and honey with cinnamon for sweetness and stability. Each piece adds something unique, but the real power lies in bringing them together into a rhythm you can repeat. And that's the key. It's not about loading your plate with everything all at once and hoping for a miracle. It's about building the habit slowly, week by week, so it becomes second nature. Just like brushing your teeth, it's the act of showing up every day that creates change. Next, let's talk about how to build this ritual step by step in a way that feels natural, not overwhelming.
Building the rituals step by step. Here's where many men go wrong. They try to do everything at once. They hear about garlic, nuts, oils, spices, honey, then they pile it all on their plate the next morning. By day 3, they're overwhelmed. The taste feels heavy, the routine feels forced, and the habit collapses. But the truth is, change sticks best when it's gradual. You don't build a strong house in one day, you lay bricks one at a time. The same goes for this breakfast ritual. If you give yourself space to adjust, your taste buds adapt, your digestion adapts, and most importantly, your mind adapts. A gentle 5-week plan. Week 1. Start simple. Just add garlic. Crush 1 small clove, let it rest for 10 minutes, and fold it into your eggs. Notice how your body feels. Any warmth in your hands or steadier energy? Write it down. Week 2. Keep the garlic and now add 1 or 2 Brazil nuts. Chop them fine, sprinkle on top.
Pay attention to your energy between breakfast and lunch. Do you feel more satisfied, less tempted to snack? Week 3. Introduce black seed oil. Just half a teaspoon drizzled over your eggs after cooking. See if your digestion, energy, or even mood feels different. Week 4. Time to bring color to the plate. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric and a good grind of black pepper as you cook the eggs. Notice how it transforms both flavor and appearance. Week 5. Finally, add the honey and cinnamon. Keep it light. Half a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of raw honey. This is the finishing touch, not the foundation. By spacing it out, each ingredient has its moment. You learn what helps, what you enjoy, and what feels sustainable. And when you finally bring them all together, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It feels natural. Why this matters? When you build habits gradually, you give yourself the gift of consistency. And consistency, not intensity, is what rewires the body. I've seen men who started with just garlic in week 1 and said, "This feels doable. I can actually keep this up." By week 5, they weren't just eating differently, they were walking taller, speaking with more confidence, and reconnecting with their partners in ways they thought were lost. So, how did these steps come together into one powerful morning ritual? That's where the real magic happens, when all the pieces are on the plate working in harmony. Next, let's put it all together and talk about what I call the ultimate testosterone breakfast.
The ultimate testosterone breakfast. By now, we've added each piece of the puzzle one at a time. Garlic for circulation, Brazil nuts for hormone spark, black seed oil for inflammation control, turmeric with pepper for balance, and honey with cinnamon for sweetness. On their own, each of these is useful, but together, they form a morning ritual that can transform the way you start your day. The act of preparing this breakfast does more than fuel your body. It sends a signal to your mind. I am investing in myself today. And that mindset alone changes how you walk, how you speak, and how you show up for the people you love. How it comes together. Here's one way to build it. 1. Start with 3 whole eggs. Whisk them gently with a pinch of salt. 2. Bloom your spices. In a pan, warm a teaspoon of olive oil. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric and a grind of fresh black pepper. Let the heat release their aroma. 3. Cook your eggs. Pour them into the pan and stir slowly until soft and golden. 4. Fold in garlic. Take 1 clove, crushed and rested for 10 minutes, and mix it in right at the end so it stays potent but not overpowering. 5. Add Brazil nuts. Chop 1 or 2 lightly toasted nuts and sprinkle over the top for crunch and selenium. 6. Finish with oil. Drizzle half to 1 teaspoon of cold-pressed black seed oil or olive oil with lemon if you prefer. Optional sweetness. For days when you want variety, mix half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon with a teaspoon of raw honey and drizzle lightly over the plate, or a small side of yogurt. The result doesn't look like medicine. It looks like breakfast. Yet every bite carries signals to your hormones, your blood flow, and your energy systems. I'll never forget one man in his late 60s who described this breakfast as building my masculinity back 1 forkful at a time. When he first started, he didn't believe it would matter. But as the weeks passed, his posture straightened, his voice carried more confidence, and even the way he interacted with his wife shifted. What really struck me wasn't the food itself, it was the ritual. Every morning he cooked, he was making a promise to himself. I'm not done yet. That consistency is what brought the change. Of course, every powerful ritual comes with small challenges. And for many men, the first concern is garlic breath. It's a fair worry. After all, intimacy is about closeness, and no one wants to lean in and feel self-conscious. But just as every problem has a solution, there are simple ways to handle this without giving up the benefits. Next, let's talk about how to manage garlic breath, so you can keep the routine without losing your confidence.
Solving the garlic breath problem. Now, let's be honest. When I first mentioned garlic as part of this breakfast, most men smile and say, "Doc, My wife will never let me get close if I eat raw garlic every morning. And I get it. Garlic has a reputation for sticking around long after the meal is over. But here's the good news. There are simple ways to enjoy the benefits without sacrificing confidence. Timing is everything. Eat your garlic in the morning, and by evening, most of the compounds that cause odor have naturally faded. That means when it matters most, whether you're at dinner with family or sharing closeness with your partner, you won't notice much at all. Pair it smartly. Certain foods can neutralize that sharp edge. Fresh parsley or cilantro chewed right after breakfast work like natural deodorizers. Green tea not only freshens the breath, but also supports circulation, a double win. Even a glass or two of water helps flush odor-causing compounds out of your system more quickly. One of my patients swore by a simple trick. He'd finish his garlic-laced eggs with a small handful of fresh mint leaves from his garden. His wife said it was like flipping a switch. No more complaints about breath. Keep perspective. Here's something worth remembering. Garlic breath is temporary, but the benefits, better circulation, steadier testosterone, renewed intimacy, can last. Don't let a short-lived smell keep you from long-term vitality. So now we've tackled the flavor, the function, and even the breath issue. But let's face another important question. What's this routine gonna cost me? Many men have already spent small fortunes on prescriptions, therapies, or quick fixes. Compared to that, could something as simple as eggs, spices, and a few nuts really be affordable? Next, let's break down the cost and benefits so you can see exactly why this ritual is not only powerful, but also surprisingly accessible.
Cost and benefits. Why this ritual is worth it. Whenever I share this kind of routine, one of the first questions men ask is, all right, but what's it going to cost me? And it's a fair concern. Many of you have already spent thousands of dollars on pills, injections, or therapies that promised quick results but left you frustrated. The truth is, this breakfast ritual is one of the most affordable changes you can make. Eggs, pennies a piece. Garlic, a few cents per clove. Brazil nuts? Yes, they're pricier per pound, but remember, you only need 1 or 2 a day. Black seed oil might be the most expensive item on the list, but even then, a bottle lasts weeks. And spices like turmeric, black pepper, and Ceylon cinnamon? A little goes a long way, and a jar can last months. Even raw honey, if used sparingly, is just a few cents per serving. A rough breakdown. Eggs per day, less than $1. Garlic clove, about 5 to 10 cents. Brazil nuts, 2 per day, around 50 cents. Black seed oil, 1 teaspoon, roughly $1. Spices and honey together about 50 cents per serving. Add it up and you're looking at $3 to $4 a day for a breakfast that fuels your body naturally. Compare that to $30 to $60 for a single erectile dysfunction pill, or hundreds of dollars every month for hormone injections. And those medical fixes, they often rent you results for a few hours, but they don't invest in your long-term health. Here's the bigger picture. The value isn't just in saving money, it's in building reliability without dependency. With food, you're not waiting for a prescription refill, worrying about side effects, or planning intimacy around a pill schedule. You're simply eating breakfast, a habit you do anyway, except now it's working for you, not against you. One of my favorite success stories came from a retired firefighter who told me, "Doc, I used to spend more on prescriptions than on groceries. Now I feel like I've flipped that around, and for the first time in years, my wife and I laugh at the breakfast table instead of at the pharmacy counter." So the cost is low, the benefits are high, and the routine is sustainable. But here's the real takeaway. Money can buy convenience, but it can't buy confidence. That comes from within, from knowing your body still has what it takes. And that brings us to the heart of this journey, the closing truth. This isn't about chasing youth, it's about reclaiming vitality, proving to yourself that age does not define your manhood, and showing the people you love that you're still fully alive. Next, Let's tie it all together with an inspiring closing message and call to action. Gentlemen, we've walked through a simple truth. Age may change the body, but it doesn't have to silence your vitality. Erections don't fade just because of birthdays. They fade when hormones dip, blood vessels stiffen, and nerves grow sluggish. But those systems aren't gone forever. With the right fuel, they can wake up, sometimes faster than you expect. We've seen how a simple plate of eggs paired with garlic, Brazil nuts, black seed oil, turmeric with pepper, and even a drizzle of honey with cinnamon can become more than breakfast. It becomes a ritual, a daily signal to your body: keep producing, keep flowing, keep living. I've shared stories of men in their 60s, 70s, even late 70s who thought their best days were behind them, only to discover that small, consistent steps gave them back energy, intimacy, and confidence. Their secret wasn't a pill or a procedure. It was the decision to show up for themselves, one morning at a time. This journey isn't about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming reliability. It's about sitting down at breakfast, cooking something simple, and realizing that you're building more than a meal. You're building momentum. So tomorrow morning, start with one step. Maybe it's garlic, maybe it's turmeric and pepper. The point isn't perfection, it's progress. Stack those small wins, stay consistent, and watch how your energy, your mood, and yes, your intimacy begin to rise again. Because at the end of the day, vitality isn't rented from a pharmacy. It's earned, nurtured, and lived bite by bite, day by day. If this message spoke to you, don't just listen, act. Try the ritual for a week. Share your experience with a friend or partner. And if you want more practical, natural tips like this, make sure to subscribe, like, and share so this wisdom can reach more men who need it. Your story isn't over. It's just entering a new chapter. And it can be stronger, steadier, and more confident than you ever imagined.